Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. We are from Group 3, Section 12. We'll be presenting about the issue about LGBT, specifically transgender among society. First thing first, I will introduce our group members, which are Iza Zahira binti Nur Azli, Iqdina Nabiha binti Muhammad Nazri, and Nurin Sofia binti Abdul Talib. In recent years, the percentage of people who identify as LGBT is practically increasing from generation to generation, which may be influenced by the media. LGBT stands for lesbian, gay, bisexual, and transgender. The issue focusing here is transgender, which is increasing rapidly in society today. The term transgender is made up of two parts. Trans means across or beyond, while gender refers to the socially constructed characteristic features of women, men, girls, and boys. Transgender is a general word for people whose gender identity is opposite from the sex given to them at birth. This can indicate that a person identifies as the opposite gender, neither male nor female nor something entirely else. Transgender people may have different gender identities than the sex they were assigned at birth. In Islamic words, this transgender phenomenon known as muhannas, which refers to men who resemble women, and mutarajjilat, which refers to women who resemble men. Therefore, LGBT is a part of liberalism, which is a secular worldview based on four principles: individual moral worth, individual liberty and rights, limited government, and private property. A worldview becomes secular when a man is the only legitimate authority for establishing truth and values. Liberalism is an ideology that emphasizes individual autonomy or freedom. Furthermore, these liberal Islamic supporters defend human rights, which clearly go against Islamic law and disregard the defense of LGBT people. Due to the fact that God made both men and women equal, believers consider there is no need to prohibit such things from happening. The opposite culture that we see today has roots in this world where the inverted community is no longer embraced to disclose its departure from the norm. In a nutshell, the act of transgender is against human nature and the origin of man that was created by Allah's command.
For the terms of transgender, transgender is an adjective to describe people whose gender identity differs from the sex they were assigned at birth. There are many types or what so-called transgender phenomena in which we are able to study and search. And the 11 indefinite types of transgenders are transgender man, transgender woman, non-binary, genderqueer, gender fluid, agender, bigender, demigender, two-spirit, gender non-conforming, and androgynous. And yet there is still many more, as nowadays American people can't really stop from being creative on producing many types of it. So the terms of transgender are frequently used while talking about among transgender people like transgender, gender identity, cisgender, transition, gender dysphoria, pronouns, dead naming, and also passing. So we move on to the causes of transgender.
Move on to the causes. First, we have genetic influences. Although specific genes or genetic markers definitively linked to the transgender identity have not been identified, research and scientists suggest that there may be a genetic component to being transgender. Also, in shaping gender identity, genetic variables may interact with other biological and also environmental factors. Next, prenatal hormone levels. It has been indicated that gender identity development may be associated with hormonal imbalances or abnormalities during fetal development, as being said. Thus, transgender identity development may be influenced by exposure to the various amounts of hormone levels during crucial fetal development stages. The third one, a journey when a child is experiencing is adulthood. A lot of things, since the expression and acceptance of one's gender identity can be influenced by its surroundings, which are social and environmental variables before entering maturity. This shows that being transgender also implies how certain people are facing their adulthood and facing the difficulties whether to embrace it or to just ignore it. And the last one, early experiences. Yet uncertain, it is said that it's young people's play preferences or gender expression are types of the examples of the early experiences that can show observable clues of a person's gender identification.
For the effect, we have two effects. First, substance abuse. LGBTQ people often have substance abuse problems. These include tobacco, alcohol, and illegal drugs. The reason may be partly that people in this group face challenge as they strive to find their place in society. Second, sexually transmitted infection. Human papillomavirus, HPV, hepatitis A and B, HIV, syphilis, chlamydia, and gonorrhea are only a few examples of sexually transmitted illness. Although most STI are treatable, others can be lethal. No matter what a person's sexual orientation, they can still have an impact. Some LGBTQ individuals might not want to engage in safe sex, and other people might lead lifestyle that put them at higher danger. Safe sexual behavior can reduce your risk of contracting or transmitting an STI. At the first indication of symptoms, seek immediate medical attention. Don't put off going to the doctor because you are embarrassed or worried about being judged.
For the data analysis, as we can see here on the first chart, there's 32 students from IIUM give response, and 65.6% of them being year 1 and 25% being year 2, which is basically among our peers. And of course, all of the 32 of them have heard about transgender and know what is the meaning of transgender. Move on to the next slide. As we saw, the first chart, out of all 32 respondents, most of them answered that adulthood is the main cause of transgender, and the consequences, about 46.9%, acknowledge that consequences, or what you can say the effect of transgender, is sexually transmitted infections.
Next problem. First problem is hormone issue. A transgender person use hormone during the transition process to acquire masculine or feminine effect. These hormones come with hazards such as blood clots, stroke, heart disease, some malignancies, low or high blood pressure, liver damage, and heart disease. A transgender person may also similarly purchase hormones from a non-medical vendor. This can be a result of the therapist's lack of insurance coverage, or perhaps it's because they don't want to receive medical attention. This may lead to the wrong hormone being administered or the incorrect amount, which may increase the risk of major side effects. A healthcare professional should regularly monitor hormone therapy's blood level to reduce the hazard. Second, cancer. Some cancer linked to the hormone use have a slightly greater risk of developing in transgender people. The liver, prostate, ovaries, uterus, and breast may be impaired. Depending on the stage of transition, regular healthcare should include accurate screening such as prostate, breast, and pelvic exams. Do not put off or skip this checkup despite the difficulty you may have with healthcare-related issues. Missing out on preventing screening could cause any cancer to take longer to disease and treat. The next problem is mental health issues. As they battle to accept their sexuality, LGBTQ individuals frequently have mental health problems. Sharing private information with family and friends could be difficult for you. You can be concerned about the reaction of close ones. If you don't want to tell anyone, not even your close friend or family, you might be feeling lonely. Because of this lack of assistance or acceptance from your friends, family, or community, you might experience anxiety or depression. But your risk of suicide could rise if you don't get help and treatment.
All in all, about the issue that we are investigating for this group project, which is the issue of transgender people in society, we ascertain that transgender people can cause catastrophe among us humans, especially Muslims, since this issue only indicates negativity. For instance, the human population will decrease and there will be no next generation to inherit the offspring, since transgender is the main cause that leads lesbian and gay increase. The movement of transgender is more than just transitioning sexually. This affects how people develop the new generation's character and sense of belonging. Consequently, this issue will lead to an unbalanced society whereby it will establish a situation with no limits and boundaries on a specific gender, and these liberalists will claim their right that initially do not exist. In spite of that, Muslims have to develop the Islamic paradigm of gender and sexuality and compete against modern and postmodern deceptions in order to establish moral lives that are in compliance with Allah's will and the teachings of Islam. We are unable to analyze the Islamic conceptions of sexual morality until we first discover the origins of morality. Other theocentric worldviews, including Islam, believe God to be the ultimate source of all morality. To the best of our knowledge, we believe we are here because of God's will. We firmly believe God and His Messenger are the sole arbiters of what is right and wrong, permissible and forbidden. Lastly, Allah states in the Quran, "O my people, worship Allah, you have no deity other than Him. There has come to you clear evidence for your Lord. So fulfill the measure and wait, and do not deprive people of their due, and cause not corruption upon the earth after its reformation. That is better for you if you should be believers." Surah Al-A'raf, verse 85. This has been the end of our presentation. Thank you so much, and Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.